Alright, back to another Battlefield 6 beta benchmark, and this time it's going to be on the 5060 and the 9700K, running at 3.60 GHz, which is base speed, and the latest NVIDIA drivers and 32 GB of DDR4 memory. So we'll be testing the game out on only 1080p settings for now, with DLSS, DLAA, and FrameGen 4X. So without further ado, let's just get into the video and see how things go. Okay, starting things off on native DLAA ultra settings. No upscaling, no frame gen. We're getting 80 to 90 FPS, which is not bad, just really good. But you can see the CPU usage is kind of really high. So the 9700K is absolutely struggling here. And the 5060 is not even maximized, like fully utilized. You can see it's like 88 to 95% usage range. And it even goes down to 60s at times. So it means that our CPU is like heavily bottlenecking the GPU even on 1080p settings, even on the maximum graphics. So that's not a good sign at all, because the more you go down on graphics, it's going to be more apparent that the CPU is limiting the GPU from going its full potential. 60, now it's dropping down to 60s whatsoever. So yeah, it does drop down into the 50s too. So not a clean 60 FPS experience on ultra max out settings, because there's a lot of things going on. And this game looks absolutely gorgeous. And it's a really well optimized game too. You know, even on 8 GB GPUs, the game works perfectly fine. So that's a really good thing in 2025. So that's native ultra settings. And now we are on DLSS performance. Just because I wanted to see how it's going to be, because we are already limited by CPU. I just wanted to see how it's going to be on DLSS performance. And to my doubts, yeah, you guys can see it's not going to improve a lot because we are limited by the CPU. So on 1080p settings with the 5060 and a 9700K, things are not looking good on 1080p. Because the best way to play it is just max it out, so you get more FPS, because the 5060 is more utilized, and the more settings you go down, the more CPU power you require, and the 9700K definitely cannot keep up with the 5060 in this game. So you're actually losing FPS instead of gaining on performance DLSS. So in the actual benchmark, I forgot to add high settings, so I had to redo the high settings. So we are doing this is a different match. So we're doing high and DLSS quality, just to see if that makes any difference. And you can see pretty much the same as DLSS performance ultra settings. You're getting kind of similar performance, maybe slightly better, because we're getting close to 100 FPS on high DLSS quality. But it's because we are in this area of the map where there's nothing crazy going on. But when it comes to the action, it's going to drop below 80. So that's how it is on this map. And when you try a different map, you can see it's still pretty much the same, 70 to 75 FPS. That's all you can get. And this is a really dense map with a lot of buildings. It's a more close combat map compared to the other one. And you can see the FPS, it's not going above 80. So yeah, DLSS quality high is not going to make a difference either. And you can see the 9700K is at 85% usage, while the 5060 is barely hitting 55, even 50% usage. So that's crazy. And now we're doing a medium and the DLAA native settings, and see if that makes any difference in the FPS. And unfortunately, no, it's about the same, I can say. Still using about 87, 85% of the CPU. I mean, yes, the more you go down, the more CPU usage is going to be, like I said. So the rest of this benchmark is going to be pretty much similar, except when we turn on frame gen. So that's a different story. We'll get to it later. But on medium settings, DLAA, you can see the 5060 is at 60% usage, slightly better than the previous DLSS quality settings. On high, so that's something, because we are performing actually on 1080p instead of upscaled 1080p. And you can see 70 FPS, 60 FPS, that's what you can get here in the scenario, in this map. So yeah, medium settings on DLAA native, not that great. And now we're going to DLSS quality medium. just having my hopes high for this, to see if there's any changes. And as you guys can see, 74, 72, it's about the same. There's nothing changed. It's the same kind of performance that we were getting on native medium settings. So, and yeah, there's nothing more you can expect out of this the system without the rebar enabled. And unfortunately, I cannot do that on this motherboard because it's not a Z90 motherboard. And, some of them which actually support rebar. And the 9700K do not officially support it. Only the CPUs that came out after the 10th gen will support it natively. So that's one of the reasons why we don't have rebar enabled on the system, which will definitely give you at least 20 FPS improvement in a game like this, because this is kind of quite a bigger open world kind of game. So rebar definitely helps in those scenarios really well. So this is what I'm saying, like this is why I am testing it out on an older system, an older CPU, because to see how it goes, right? So it's not a good experience. So now let's go on to DLSS performance on medium settings. And again, not that great. Now it's losing more FPS, because look at the 5060 usage, 48, not even 50% usage. So 5060 is just chilling over there. The 9700K is going absolutely crazy, 82%. Even though the GPU memory is kind of maxed out, not utilizing that much of the GPU's processing powers, which is why we're getting lower FPS than native medium settings. So that's medium settings. Okay, time to move on to low settings on DLAA, native settings. So let's see if that gives us any improvement. So on low settings, we are actually getting a slighter more FPS, but not really though, because it gives you that slight push when you change the settings, and then when you're in the game, actually doesn't do a lot. It just goes up to maybe like 80 FPS and then goes back down. So it's giving you like false hope for like a few seconds, and then just goes back to however it was a couple seconds ago. So pretty much around the same FPS. So that is low native settings. And now I wanted to see how it's gonna be on TAA instead of DLAA, just to see if DLAA was actually causing a lesser FPS than we should be getting. All right, so TAA will give us 80 plus FPS all the time. See, so that's better than DLAA, definitely. But the blurriness is actually noticeable on TAA. But if you want more FPS, it's better to just play the game like this on TAA. See, it even goes to 100 FPS in some places, even though it's on low settings. So on older CPUs, without any rebar support or anything like that, it's better to just keep the game to TAA and have a better experience. Especially in a first-person shooter, you need more FPS to aim and shoot. So yeah, I prefer playing it like this, with just TAA turned on instead of DLAA. Okay, TAA is pretty good. Now let's go back to DLSS quality on low settings. I know you'll be like asking, why don't you just stick with TAA instead if that's better? But this is a benchmark channel. I gotta test it out on all settings. So that's why I'm going with DLSS. And unfortunately, there's no TAA quality mode. It's only DLSS by NVIDIA or FSR. And I'm not gonna test out FSR for this video, because FSR is usually more blurrier than unless it's FSR 4, which has pretty much like a really decent video quality, image quality compared to its older ones. And without the latest AMD cards, you are not able to utilize FSR 4 at all. So there's no point in turning those on. So the best bet is DLSS, which has a really good sharp image quality, and DLSS quality on low settings. The game still looks pretty good, and you're getting more than 100 FPS for the first time. Constant 100 FPS. That's a good sight to see, not gonna lie. So DLSS quality low settings, it's a really good experience. Alright, now we are moving on to DLSS Ultra Performance on low settings. So this is the the setting that you use to see how good of a CPU you have with any GPU. All right, yeah, the GPU does matter into this, but it's primarily focused on the CPU's performance. So in my channel, I do 9700K versus 9800X3D reviews and benchmarks, and in those videos, what I use is just DLSS Ultra Performance low settings and compare those two CPUs and see how much of an improvement it actually is. So in the 9800X3D videos, it just completely destroys the 9700K in modern games because it's 3D V-cache and it's a rebar support and everything. So anybody with a 9700K watching this video, it's better to just upgrade to a better CPU. Even an Intel 12th gen i5 will do wonders compared to the 9700K at this point. So please, the 5060 would be an absolute banger for this game. Doesn't matter, it can definitely do more than 150 FPS in these settings, but it's just that the 9700K is just pulling it back from going its full potential. So yeah, even on the lowest settings, you cannot expect a big improvement in Battlefield 6, unfortunately. Yeah, now it's time to turn on some frame gen, multi-frame gen on a DLAA ultra settings, 4x frame gen actually. So let's see how much we can get with those settings. And even you can see in the menus, the artifacting is kind of crazy. When I dragged the menu up and down, there was a slight artifacting on those lines because of the artifacting of the frame gen. And oh my goodness, the input lag when this was turned on was insane. I don't think you understand how bad it was, because I was struggling to get my mouse around. It was that bad. I felt like it was multiplying the frames from maybe 20 FPS or something like that. That's what I felt, because it was so bad. I will never play the game like this, even though I'm getting 150 FPS in this here right now. That is 4x multiplied. So it is actually getting around 20 FPS or something base, which is so terrible. And that's ultra settings with MFG 4x. Okay, now let's try turning down to high settings instead of ultra. See how much we can squeeze out with the MFG. So from 140 FPS on ultra, we are getting close to 180 to 90 FPS. And this is not as bad as the ultra settings because we are getting better base FPS. Man, I should have turned on the Steam overlay as well to see how much base FPS we are actually getting. But yeah, I'll do that on a different video. But for now, yeah, it's still terrible. Don't get me wrong, it's still absolutely terrible to feel the mouse movement and get an actual aim with this thing. So definitely won't recommend it with the frame gen on these settings. And yeah, not a good experience at all. Alright, now let's try low settings. We're not gonna go to medium. Let's just see low settings. From high to low settings on the same ultra, on the same MFG 4x. So from 170 FPS, we are jumping to 200 category right now. 250 FPS, that's pretty good sign to see. And the 0.1% lows is 7 FPS right here, because when you respawn and load in, it just dips so bad sometimes. So that's why it's 7 FPS, not because the game's stuttering so bad in the middle of playing the game, because it's not. The game is like actually well optimized. So yeah, that's why you're seeing the 7 FPS right there. And 250 FPS, that's something really good to see. And yeah, the input lag is way better now because we have better base FPS. Now let's go on and try ahead and see how much it is going to be on ultra performance low settings. From 250 to 300, which is a good sign. But it's still going to drop down into the 250s or 280s in intense scenes like here. And there's a big explosion or a gunfight going on, it's going to drop down into 250s. So yeah, and look at the 9700K's usage. It's at almost 90% usage. So that's insane. The only reason why the 5060 is at 70% usage right now is because FrameGen uses more GPU power. So that's the only reason why the 5060 is at 70 plus usage. Otherwise, it would have been lower than that. maybe like close to 50%. So yeah, you can absolutely see 300 FPS on these settings on ultra performance low. Alright, and finally we're gonna go to ultra settings again, but this time on ultra performance. You know, just to see if that's gonna make any difference. So if that was the case, then that would be a much better option, because you can also get the details and also get the frames, right? So I wanted to see how it's gonna be, and you can see you're getting pretty much close to 200 FPS, and that is a pretty decent experience. It's much better than the some of the other settings that we just tested out. Way better than DLAA Ultra. That's 100% certain. But yeah, 200 FPS with much less noticeable input delay. Not the perfect experience at all, but this is much more playable. If you're playing on a controller, you might like this more. But since I'm playing on a keyboard and mouse, it's pretty apparent. The delay, I can't just stand it at all. I'd rather play the game on native settings at any time. So yeah, unfortunately this is the performance that you can get with the 9700K and a 5060. I'm gonna have to test this out on the 9900X 3D pretty soon. So stay tuned for more benchmarks on the 5060 on Battlefield. So if you like this video, leave a like, subscribe to the channel for more benchmarks, and let me know what you guys think about this in your comments. And hope you guys are having a great time wherever you are. I'll catch you guys in the next one. Peace out.